They called him the wrong man. The billionaire's armed guard laughed in his face, pointed at his worn-out shoes, and told him to leave before he embarrassed himself further. But when the single dad quietly rolled up his sleeve, the entire marble hall fell silent. Because branded into his skin wasn't just a scar, it was proof that everything they believed about him was wrong. Stay with me, because by the end of this story, you'll understand why the richest man in the city stood up and called that wrong man his hero. What if the man everyone laughs at today is the one who once saved their entire world? The ballroom glittered like a palace. Crystal chandeliers shimmered against gold-trimmed ceilings. The city's most powerful people gathered inside the billionaire's estate: CEOs, politicians, investors, dressed in tailored suits and diamond-studded gowns. And then there was Daniel. His suit wasn't tailored. It was borrowed, slightly too tight at the shoulders. His shoes had been polished 3 times that morning, but they still carried the memory of construction dust. He adjusted his tie nervously and held his daughter Lily's small hand. "Dad," she whispered, staring at the marble floors. "Are we allowed to be here?" Daniel knelt down, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "We're exactly where we're meant to be." But the room didn't seem to agree. Whispers spread. Eyes scanned him from head to toe. A waiter hesitated before offering him a drink. At the center of the hall stood Victor Laurent, tech billionaire, philanthropist, and the host of tonight's charity gala. A man known for building an empire from nothing. Daniel had received a personal invitation, but the security team clearly didn't believe that. One of the billionaire's guards, tall, broad-shouldered, wearing a tailored black suit and dark glasses, stepped in front of him. "Invitation," he demanded flatly. Daniel handed it over. The guard scanned it. His lips curled. "You sure this isn't a mistake?" he muttered. "This event isn't for construction workers." A few guests nearby chuckled. Daniel felt Lily's grip tighten. "I was invited," Daniel replied calmly. The guard laughed outright. "A wrong man, buddy. A wrong man, buddy. Wrong man." The words echoed louder than the music. Daniel swallowed. He'd heard those words before. When his wife passed away 2 years ago during a surgical complication, the hospital administrator told him, "You need someone stronger to raise a child alone." Wrong man. When he applied for a bank loan to keep his late wife's small community clinic running, they told him, "You don't look like someone who can manage responsibility like this." Wrong man. When he showed up to parent-teacher meetings alone, some parents would whisper, "Poor kid." Wrong man. But Daniel wasn't here to argue. He was here because Victor Laurent had sent a letter. Handwritten. "If you are the man I believe you are, I owe you more than I can repay." Daniel didn't even know if Victor would remember him. Suddenly, the guard stepped closer and lowered his voice. "Listen, save yourself the embarrassment. Leave." Before Daniel could respond, Lily looked up at the guard and said softly, My dad doesn't leave when things are hard." The room grew quiet. The guard smirked. Acute, still the wrong place, and then something unexpected happened. Victor Laurent himself turned. He had overheard. The billionaire walked toward them slowly, studying Daniel's face. For a moment, Daniel wondered if he had made a mistake coming here. Victor stopped in front of him. Silence swallowed the hall. And then the billionaire asked quietly, "Is it really you?" The guard blinked. Sir, I was just removing." Victor raised his hand to silence him. Daniel didn't answer immediately. Instead, he rolled up his sleeve. The room gasped. Running down his forearm was a thick, jagged scar, unmistakable. Victor's expression changed completely. The laughter stopped, because that scar wasn't random. It was the mark of a fire that had almost taken everything. And Victor Laurent knew exactly where it came from. 2 years ago, in a building filled with smoke and panic, one man ran toward the flames while everyone else ran away. Victor turned to the crowd. "You're calling him the wrong man," he said slowly. "He's the reason I'm alive." The ballroom froze. 2 years earlier, before Victor became the face of a billion-dollar corporation, he had been trapped in a construction site accident. A temporary office had caught fire after faulty wiring sparked during a late-night inspection. The alarms failed. The exits were blocked. Smoke filled the corridors. Most workers evacuated, but Daniel didn't. Back then, Daniel was just a site foreman, exhausted, underpaid, trying to save money for Lily's future. When he heard someone shouting from the upper level, he didn't think about risk. He didn't think about consequences. He ran upstairs. Through smoke so thick he could barely see, he He found Victor unconscious near a collapsing wall. He dragged him out. A burning beam fell, searing Daniel's arm. He didn't let go. Outside, as ambulances arrived, Daniel slipped away before reporters could ask questions. He didn't even leave his name. Victor had spent months trying to find him. The only clue? A security camera frame showing the scar forming on Daniel's arm. Victor stepped closer now, emotion heavy in his voice. "I built my company on risk," he said. But that night I built my life on this man's courage." The guard who had laughed earlier slowly removed his sunglasses. Lily looked up at her father with wide eyes. "You saved him?" Daniel shrugged gently. "Anyone would have done it." Victor shook his head. No, they didn't." The billionaire turned to the guest. "Eat Tonight's gala is about supporting community healthcare initiatives. The clinic we're funding?" He smiled. "It will be directed by Daniel." Daniel's heart pounded. Victor continued, "After the fire, I researched the man who saved me. I discovered he lost his wife, a brilliant doctor, and has been fighting to keep her clinic alive ever since." Murmurs spread again, but this time, not mocking, respectful. Victor looked directly at the guard. "The wrong man?" He said firmly. "No, the right one." The guard lowered his head. Sir? I didn't know." "That's the point," Victor replied. "We rarely do." Daniel felt Lily hug him tightly. For the first time in years, the weight on his shoulders felt lighter, not because he needed recognition, but because Lily had witnessed something important. That strength isn't loud. That dignity doesn't need validation, that the world may misjudge you, but your actions define you. Victor extended his hand. Daniel hesitated, then shook it. The applause started slowly. Then it roared. But Daniel wasn't listening to the applause. He was listening to Lily whisper, "I always knew you weren't the wrong man, Dad." Tears blurred his vision. Because for months he had doubted himself, doubted if he was enough as a father, enough as a provider, enough as a man. Tonight proved something powerful. You don't need wealth to be valuable. You don't need status to be significant. And sometimes the person the world underestimates is the one holding it together. As the music resumed and guests approached him with new respect, Daniel bent down to Lily once more. "Remember this," he told her softly, "and never let someone else decide your worth." Across the hall, the former laughing guard stood still, humbled. Because sometimes the strongest people wear the simplest clothes, and sometimes the scar you try to hide becomes the proof of who you are. If this story teaches us anything, it's this. The world may call you the wrong person for the room, the wrong background, the wrong status, the wrong name. But character is never wrong. And one day, when the moment comes, you won't need to speak loudly. You'll just roll up your sleeve.